I'm KG. I'm Adibari Abdulgani KG, and I will be presenting on diacritiization of low-resource languages in text-to-speech. Okay. Okay, so this is the overview of the presented topic. So we'll be covering the introduction, the background, working principle, then some visual engagement to improve our understanding regarding the said topic, and we'll kind of discuss about the significance of the topic in question, and we'll round it up with conclusion. All right, so the question is, what are diacritics? The moment we sent the topic yesterday, I've been getting some messages about diacritization, and I feel like some persons too have tried to look online to try and see what does entails. But today we'll be covering every hidden fact about diacritization in artificial intelligence, especially when we're talking about text-to-speech models. So diacritics are distinguishing marks attached to the letter of alphabets. Yes. So basically, I will try to expand about low-resource language. When we talk about low-resource languages, we are trying to talk about languages can be synonymous to local languages, languages that are not, I would like to say, properly documented, or they are not generally spoken by a large number of persons. So, and which we know that most Nigerian language is part of this language in question. Yeah, and also there are some high-resource languages that are diacritics, like while writing them, they are embedded with the diacritics. So basically, we'll be dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's for these languages. So the active sign E in café in French is referred to as diacritics. The sign we can see on E, and the E in Ile. I believe most of my Yoruba persons will understand this. And please, the main point of this is not to try and criticize some languages or every language included. There is inclusion for every language. It's just that I could only talk about the language I can understand to the best of my knowledge. So, and we have the Bahat. So we call it Bat in Arabic language, and you can see the diacritic on this Bat language. So basically, that is what we refer to as diacritic. So yeah, the question marks attached to the letter of alphabet. So what is text-to-speech? So when we're talking about text-to-speech, so we are talking about a technology that transforms written text into spoken language. So which in turn produces speech that sounds naturally. So I believe most of us is going to agree with me that in the current world we have, one of the key problems that we are facing is communication. Yes, because it's very, very almost impossible. Don't let me say it's impossible, almost impossible for a person to understand all the languages that we have in the whole world. So this gap needs to be bridged. So this is where we've seen the advent of AI trying to bridge all of these gaps and all of that. So moving forward, it is very, very important that text-to-speech can be embedded into the current world we have based on the communication gap between persons. So text-to-speech is just a method whereby you insert your text, then it's going to convert it to the speech. So for other persons, another thing is for disabilities people that they have speech problem, people that have writing problems and all of that. So these gaps help us to solve it, even when we're talking about the blind or impartial vision problematic kind of person. So this technology is where it can come in handy for such task. So moving forward, so the organization has a rich history rooted in the need to preserve correct pronunciation and meaning in written languages. So with the best of my knowledge, you know, I said I'm more familiar with Yoruba, and I'm not really good with French, but I try. Yeah. So, and I think Igbo to the use dialect, diacritics, but it's not mostly used in outside languages. Yeah. So that criticalization in languages most times change the pronunciation of some words, which in turn change the meaning of those of some particular words. When it comes to Arabic, the accreditation in Arabic stands for vowel sounds, in the sense that when the diacritics is not well written, it can completely change the trajectory of that particular words, and it's going to change the meaning or the content of that particular sentence you are trying to portray. So it is in this sense, it is very, very important that our words, our text, are where they are critics in when they are written. So it began in ancient Greek with accent and breathing marks, and later emerged in Arabic and Hebrew. You agree with me that these are the languages that, how would I put it? They're like the fracas. These are where the language starts from. The Hebrew, the Arabic, I believe. I think most persons believe the Bible started with Hebrew. I'm not sure about that. So for Arabic is basically, these two languages are attached to religion beliefs. So to aid in accurate recitation of religion texts, so in medieval Europe, diacritics were added to Latin-based script to indicate stress, vowel length, or different homonyms. All right. So it comes to some, I think far back as some decades ago, African and Asian language adapted diacritics to represent tones and vowel variations. So vowel variations, I think that is a very important word, vowel variation, because if the diacritics is not well written, it's going to change the trajectory of that particular sentence, and the context of that sentence is going to be changed dynamically. So with the rise of printing and standardization, their use expanded. We have increased countries, increased populations, increased diversity. So these have diversified the languages we have in the world, and most of these languages they make use of the diacritics in order to aid pronunciation and set some meanings of some words apart. Okay, so despite representing short words in Arabic language, changes pronunciation in French, just as I said earlier, Yoruba, Spanish, German, and many others. The article language, diacritical marks are frequently omitted from scripts, making writing without them unintelligible. So diacritical marks have historically been omitted because native speaker intuitions predict them. Yeah, so if you kind of read some Arabic text nowadays, you find out that their signs are missing. Yeah, because they believe that you should be able to read them without those signs. So what about the persons or the people that are not native speakers of Arabic? So that is where the issue is going to come from. That is where we have a problem. So that's some kind of challenges that we have. So the assumption that was made is there's no need to state the obvious, as I said earlier. So when we are talking about the obvious, we are talking about the native speakers. And I believe you're going to agree with me that most native speakers will find it difficult to be able to read some sentences correctly because of they are not well diacriticized. So it is in the sense that even I think I'm a victim of that. Some Yoruba languages, you write them without putting, we call them Ami when it comes to Yoruba, when they are not well diacriticized. So it becomes a problem while reading. You see different persons reading what they feel they are seeing. Meanwhile, it's because they are not well diacriticized. So that's where the issue lies. So for these days, many native speakers find text compare since diacritical marks are no longer used and written language proficiency is declining. So these symbols aid the reader in differentiating between words that are homographs, words with the same spelling but distinct meanings. Yes, so we have different of those. We have so many words like that in most of the local languages or low resource languages. Okay, so diacritization poses significant challenges in text-to-speech models, especially for languages where diacritics affect meaning and pronunciation. So, we'll be giving an example of languages like Arabic, Yoruba, and Vietnamese. So many texts are written without diacritics, leading to ambiguity. So I think even without without diacritics, it is expected that before you can successfully communicate between persons, one must try to avoid ambiguity as much as possible. So imagine you are trying to fight two devils now. You are trying to express your words in the part that some persons need to understand you, and at the same time you are still missing some elements which can actually help you in portraying those words with precision and clarity. So incorrect diacritication can result in mispronunciations or altered meaning. So I think we've been talking about this since the beginning of the. So I'm going to show some visual engagement so that we can kind of relate to what I'm trying to portray here. All right. So I'm going to continue with the play, but I find it's very understood that English don't really have diacritics, but we can see how how important it is for one to be able to diacritize his or her statement. Imagine there is no need for the diacritization in English, and at the same time, one can be confusing with all the statement this man is making here because he is using some words, the same words, and at the same time in different contexts of the sentences. So let me just continue with the play so that we can perfectly understand and bond with what I'm trying to explain here. So I believe we've gotten the message that we are trying to pass here. So I'll be moving forward to some languages that I believe we are more conversant with. Okay, so I'll be playing, as I said earlier, there is a disclaimer. We are not here to undermine any languages, or no language is important. So we could only be able to portray some because it's almost impossible for us to portray every language that makes use of diacritics. So, okay. The sound is not coming up. Even now, it's not coming up. Oh, wow. You can't hear anything now. So sorry, I get some information that the sounds are not coming out. So let me try and see if playing it directly is going to help us here. All right, so it starts to hear that we cannot hear the word is being pronounced by this man on my screen. I think that's some kind of technical issue here. So, but I would like us to, for the sake of time, I would like us to pay important attention to the subtitle so we can get the intention of what I'm trying to portray here. So basically what this person is trying to talk about is how important the diacritics are, because some words that are spelled the same and they have different meaning in different contexts based on the context you are trying to talk about. So most times we refer to them as homographs. Yeah. So for the other videos that I'm trying to portray the Igbo woman, she's trying to talk about. So she's trying to talk about how Oka means differently in Igbo language. So at some point, depending on the context of what you're trying to talk about. So at some point he's talking about egg, at some point Oka, the same word, is talking about clothing. So there is different meaning to that, and at some point he's talking about bear, frame, and all of that. So for this language now, so this is a Yoruba language. So this woman here is trying to portray how diacritics change the meaning of words completely. As you can see, it's at some point Yoruba call Ogun, which is strength, so inheritance and all of that. So I think this is another Yoruba trying to portray how the diacritics change the trajectory of that particular word. Since they are spread the same thing, as you can see, okay, but the diacritics we can see here change the complete meaning of those words. Yeah. So now this is where the argument lies. So it is easier for humans to be able to detect this, but in the advent of scenarios whereby different persons on having this communication are having this kind of gap, which is kind of difficult for both of them to understand themselves, and they intend to use some kind of artificial intelligence model, which is going to aid them to understand what this communication is all about. An average person trying to make use of a text-to-speech language, text-to-speech models, most times when typing, an average 90% based on research, when typing, most people neglect the diacritics that comes along with the words that are being used in whatever it is they are typing into the model, which makes it very difficult for the model to be able to differentiate what is it you are trying to type, what is it you are trying to portray, what is it you are trying to express to, or what is it you are trying to convert from text to speech for you to, or probably when you are communicating with persons that do not understand what your language is, from there you can even have some kind of speech recognition, which is going to aid you to communicate between persons of different background, diversity background. So diacritics can cause a lot of problem when it comes to text-to-speech model. So this is why it is very, very important. One needs to diacritize the sentence you are trying to predict. An average person, I said earlier, an average person always omit diacritics. An average person, like 95% person, they always omit diacritics, thinking the model should be able to do the justice with whatever sentences they are typing for them to get the speech in return. So this has become a problem over time, which some researchers comes together and try to find a way whereby they can be able to try and bridge this gap of diacriticization in sentences. So text-to-speech, basically, how does text-to-speech work, and how can it not be able to handle diacritics most times when you are trying to convert your text to speech? So the input text is first cleaned and normalized, expanding abbreviation numbers and symbols into spoken forms. Yes, whenever you input your text into the model, is going to normalize. Usually we have done some kind of data preparation, data cleaning, and all of that. So it's going to do some kind of linguistic analysis. So the system analyzes grammar, syntax, and phonetics. So it performs some tasks like part of speech identification, tagging, so stress marking, and prosody prediction. So if you look at what this linguistic analysis, I think that's the part where the diacritics where the meaning of the words needs to be extracted. Imagine someone is trying to say, I don't want to use Yoruba because I think Yoruba should be the best way I can actually express what I mean by now. So imagine I'm trying to input into the model that I want to buy a land, So in Yoruba, it's going to be Mufera Ile. So that Ile is still the same thing as when you are trying to write house. I don't know if you're getting my point. So now the same word is having two different meanings now. So that has completely changed the trajectory of the communication I'm trying to pass across. So, and as I said earlier, average person who omits diacritics, which makes the model find it difficult to be able to successfully translate or transform your text into speech. Imagine the model is supposed to say ile and you can hear ile from the model. So that's kind of different thing. Or it's trying to imagine when you are trying to say husband, you are trying to say you are trying to make mention of so many words and you are using is not properly diacritized. So the model will find it difficult to know what your intention is. They don't read minds, they work with how they are trained on. So phonemes conversion, the text is converted into phonemes and all of that. Then acoustic model generates some acoustic features. From here we are trying to convert our text to speech, so we need some kind of acoustic features that works with deep neural networks to successfully convert our text into. So finally, we have a vocoder, what's going to be work back our raw audio. So this is just like a simple block diagram of what have been used before now when people are trying to, because most times, honestly speaking, I know some couple of companies find it difficult to be able to build a successful text-to-speech model. And most of the problem they are having is because of average person trying to make use of their model, putting in text, and they expect a speech in return, and the sentences they are trying to put into the model is not diacritized. So this is going to kind of lead to some kind of ambiguity problem to the model, and thereby bringing what is not intended by the user out at the speech of the input from the user. So now, this is the kind of proposition, like bringing in the diacritization model. Many persons are very, very lazy. Even if I'm trying to make use of Yoruba, I hardly put in the what's it called, the distribution marks. And it's even so good. I know how those marks are being formed, but it's kind of difficult for me to even make use of them. That is the point. So it's not like it is laziness of using them. I think it's the know-how on how to correctly identify those words, those characters, and put their respective marks on top to correctly translate or to correctly express what your intentions are. So the diacritization model can enable us to do that. So this model can be inserted between the text that is being inputted by the user and the text-to-speech model. So after the diacritization of the model, after the model has been correctly, the sentences have been already correctly diacritized, so then the text-to-speech model can take it up from there based on its training and the algorithm. So it's going to give us the correct speech that is intended by the user. All right. So here we'll be talking about the significance of the topic in question. So diacritization is vital in text-to-speech models for accurate pronunciation, tone, and prosody, especially in tonal or morphological pitch languages, where you talk about Arabic, our local dialects here in Nigeria, then the French, the Vietnamese. So the list is goes on and on. So it helps disambiguate words, improves naturalness, and ensures clarity in speech output. This enhances user experience, supports language learning, and crucial for accessibility in voice-based technology. So the idea is, imagine someone trying to use a service, and most persons would not admit that they didn't correctly put the sentences they want to convert from text to speech, but they would rather blame the model, or they would rather blame the organization in charge of the model. Like, they believe the model should be able to do justice by identifying or knowing their intention, which completely is very difficult for the model to do because they don't read minds. They only work on how they are trained. So the diacritization can come in this way, which can successfully help us to annotate these characters conveniently so that the model can take it up from there and be able to produce the speech as the output that we want. So I'll be giving the concluding phrase by trying to recap on what we've been discussing on. So diacritization is a critical component in development of accurate and natural sounding text-to-speech systems, particularly for languages where diacritics influence pronunciation, tone, and meaning. So it resolves ambiguity in written text, ensures correct phonemic generation, and all of that. So without proper diacritization, the text-to-speech models tends to experience some kind of difficulty in trying to get the intention of the user so that it can produce the intended audio, which is needed by the user. So as speech technology expands globally, incorporating effective diacritization strategies become essential for inclusivity, language preservation, and improved user experience. So thus, diacritization is not just linguistic necessity, but a foundational element in multilingual text-to-speech system design. All right, so thank you, everyone.